All right, now we're going to implement a materialized view using Redis on the order processing module. So to get started, we're going to take a look at this spot right here, which is where we want to actually get the data from our materialized view. And so instead of just newing up an address here, we want to be able to fetch an address from some type of interface. That interface we can call aefqwerfnvaoiuopiop, let's say. And then down here where it's time to get it, we're going to replace these two lines and get the details from the cache. All right, now we've defined the interface that we want to use. We can create the interface and add a method to it. All right, so we clean up the interface a little bit. We want to actually pass in something that has an ID. And remember, address is just a value object, doesn't have an identity. So we're going to need to create a new type to represent an address with an ID, and we're going to call that order address. And it's literally just going to be the address value object with an ID added to it. Now we're ready to implement the cache. And so again, we're going to use Redis. So we're going to need to add a NuGet package to help us access Redis. And once we have that NuGet package, we can implement this in its own class. So you want the stackexchange.redis package. We just need to fix up these things because of the new type that we're using that wraps the address. All right, now we're ready to go create our implementation of the cache. So we'll just add it right here. All right, let's review what this is doing. So iDatabase is a Redis interface, and so we're going to use a Redis connection multiplexer to connect to localhost. Ideally, we get this from config, so I've got a to-do in here, but for now, localhost will work. We're going to fetch the DB using redis.getDatabase. Then inside of getById, we just need to fetch out the JSON that goes along with the ID that we pass in, and if it's null, we'll say we couldn't find it, and we'll return a not found. This is an example of why using that result wrapper is nice, because we can return, instead of a null, we can return a not found. Otherwise, we're going to deserialize the order address into a strongly typed order address, and again, we'll do a not found if that doesn't work. Otherwise, we'll return the address. That's how we get data out of the cache. Now we need to set up Redis so that it actually works, and we need to wire up that service so that it is in our service collection. So in here where we have our services, we want to go ahead and add an instance of that iOrder cache. Now that's working. Now we just need to install Redis. For that, we just need to run one command. And so we're going to say docker run myredis on 6379 is the port. We're going to map that on the inside and outside of the new container. We're going to run it with -d, so it's detached, so it's not going to take over our console. And then if we do a docker ps, we should see that that is running. And so somewhere in here right there is Redis, so it's all set. At this point, if we debug trying to check out an order, what we should find is that this address cache always returns a not found. So let's give that a shot. All right, so we have something in our cart. Now we can check out. And you can see the shipping address has a not found for the ID. So this is a valid address ID, but it wasn't able to find it because we've never added it to Redis. And you can see we also got a log message telling us that that address ID was not in Redis. So in the next section, we're going to talk about how do we update that materialized view so that the data is actually there.